Yep, another scary sushi video. Although this one is a bit different. I'm not fully sure if I said it in my last scary sushi video, and honestly I'm too lazy to check, but I did plan to make a part 2 to that video where I would talk about how I think they could improve upon the game. The main issue though is that the way they can improve upon the game is different in everyone's standards, so my idea on how they should fix the game is probably different from yours. But anyways, let's just skip over all of that and just get started with the video. Okay, so first off, just so I don't have to say this later, I'm not going to be talking about Course 1 in either Chapter 1 or Chapter 2, mostly because I don't think there needs to be anything to be changed. I mean, yeah, they're easy, but that's because they're the beginning of the game. It would be absurd to have the hardest part of the game be at the beginning. For Course 2, to be honest, the only bad part about this course in my opinion is simply that the janitor doesn't really feel like that much of a threat. I mean, yeah, the main focus on this course is Fish Farm and not the janitor, but the janitor is pretty much the easiest part of this entire game from start to finish. So why not just make it so he gradually gets more difficult the longer you play? Honestly, the best way to fix this in my opinion is just to make it so the goop thing that would come from the leaky pipes actually spawn in Course 2 and not Course 3. Not too much, I would say maybe like 2 puddles in the second course, maybe 3 to 4 puddles in the third course, and like 5 or 6 in the final course. Moving on to Course 3, to be honest, you would probably have to rework the entire section just to fit what I'm going to say. And yes, I drew this in Paint 3D just so you could see what I'm talking about. You see, my main issue with this course is that unless you're paying attention to the time all throughout the game, you're not going to remember which room has the monster in it, effectively turning the section into a giant gamble. My fix for this is just have giant buttons on each building and have it correspond with one of the vegetables. Then you can actually go back to the billboard thing in the center of the room and then try and correspond the vegetable with said billboard, so you can actually connect to where the monster is and so you can avoid it. Now of course this would make the section extremely easy, especially since the monster doesn't directly kill you. If you're too close to the monster, then it will kill you, otherwise you're most likely safe. So my fix for this is that if you end up opening the room where the monster is at, then the monster will kill you instantly instead of giving you time to escape. Now of course this isn't a perfect fix, and it still makes Course 3 a bit easier than Course 2, but I don't care, anything makes it better than playing Souls RNG. Moving on to the final course, my only issue is that the gameplay that's added into this course is just way too easy, especially for being the final course of the chapter. I mean, besides waiting a very long time for the secret ingredient, hiding away from the monsters, and walking to actually make progress, you're not actually doing anything else, and that's nothing new. Coincidentally, while I was thinking about ways on how to improve the final course in Chapter 1, I was actually watching one of IES videos, specifically his video on fake gameplay videos for Garden of Banban. He talks about a section for a fan-made character called Hunter Kim, which is basically the library section in Doors Floor 1. And while watching, I actually kinda thought, what if they did something similar for the final course? Make it so instead of having to go to one place that's very far away to get the special ingredient, instead, just make it so you have to go to multiple places close by that will also give you the ingredients, but only partially. So you'll have to fill up each cup until you get all the ingredients you need, which are the small black bulges. Also make it so there's only one fly you have to deal with instead of multiple, except the set path that the fly has to go to actually covers the entire map. Like I said before, Course 1 is easy and I don't think it needs to be changed, mostly because it's at the beginning of the game, and it's just there to warm the player up. So let's just quickly move to Course 2. For the most part, I think this course is fine. The only issue I have is in the temple. The bugs moving around actually make it very hard to grab it, so it can easily result in you losing in case you're trying to get a specific type of bug, and you end up grabbing the wrong one and end up running out of time. Honestly, the only way I can think of actually making this a bit easier or a bit better would simply just be to make it so after a specific amount of time, like maybe a minute or two, the bugs will actually fly to a random tree, and there you can actually grab them. Or you can just make it so the bugs only stay in those trees, and that it actually takes a while for you to actually catch the bugs. So in that case, the bug monster thing that you have to deal with in this course is actually a bit more of a threat. In my original Scary Sushi video, one of the things I stated that I didn't like about the deep was simply that swimming was an actual pain. I mean, it was very hard swimming assuming you were jumping, and the realistically only easy way to swim and move up at the same time would just be to look up, which feels very odd in my opinion. To be honest, I'm not sure if that's how the swimming mechanic is in Roblox in general, or if that's just how it was coded in Scary Sushi, but regardless, it just doesn't feel that well. My best recommendation would just be to copy or just downright steal the swimming mechanic from Robot 64, because they actually got it pretty good. I also think there should be another secondary enemy to go along with the big fish, maybe multiple small piranhas. But regardless, I feel like they should just nibble on you and slowly kill you the longer you stay in the deep. So, instead of having to wait for a very long time to get your ingredients, you actually have to rush things just enough to the point where you won't die, but you can still get your ingredients. And finally, we do have the final course for Chapter 2. And while I could say I just kind of think it should be more difficult, honestly, I think it's actually perfect. I love how no matter what point of this dimension you're going through, you're always put under threat of actually being killed off by the monsters. Whether it's trying to run through a safe spot, or if you're literally having to pass through them multiple times just to get to the special ingredient, I love how you're always put under pressure. One thing I would actually kind of be interested in seeing is if the final course actually had a good and bad ending, where you would have to go through the tunnels and get the special ingredient thing. I actually don't know what it is, but I'll just call it dragon fruit to kill off Kyoku. And for the bad ending, you would actually have to go through the jungles to get the eyes things. And yes, I drew how I think it should look in Paint 3D too. Throughout the jungle, you'll have to avoid holes into the ground, otherwise snakes will shoot up and attack you, dark spots in the dirt because monkeys will randomly swing by and they can and will attack you if you end up standing into the dark spots, all while being aware of your surroundings because you're being hunted down by a wolf. Now, I can understand if this isn't ever added into the game. It's a lot to add just for one ending, especially just for one dude who potentially only wants this, but a man could dream. And that is how I think they can improve Scary Sushi. It is a lot. Chances are, most, if not then probably all of the things I've said aren't going to be added to the game, because, well, let's face it, it's way too much work, especially just for one person's opinion. But regardless, that's all I have to say. Do you agree with my opinions or not? Comment down below if you want to. But regardless, I hope you enjoyed.